There are three ideas for dealing with income disparity and job loss caused by automation. They include changing the tax laws that limit flexibility, job sharing, and replacing minimum wage with a link between CEO compensation and the lowest wage. First, let's talk about job sharing. Remember the Jetsons? The idea back then was that automation would help each one of us. However, instead of that, what we have today is automation in the workplace replacing workers. So we need to rethink how we define jobs and how we share the benefits of automation, allowing for people to do less work because of the automation, but still share in the profits of it. So one of the things to consider is what are the barriers to doing this? And one of the biggest barriers to job sharing and to allowing people to work part-time is our tax code. And by having tax exemptions for employee health benefits, that is where part of the problem lies. This again was another good idea with an unintended consequence, because now whenever somebody needs more work, instead of hiring another worker and having to deal with the health care benefits package, they have mandatory overtime. And so we need to cut out this particular tax benefit in order to allow for more sharing of jobs and more flexibility. So if we did that, then employers could allow for more job sharing. For example, let's say a couple met at work and they both know how to do the same job and they want to start a family. They'd be willing to cut back on their income if one of them could spend more time at home with the kids, or they could alternate. And since they could both be qualified for the job, they could choose one job and share it. Similarly, people that are friends or know each other could collaborate to share a job. And because the company is no longer bound by the whole benefits issue, they can be a lot more flexible in hiring people part-time. The part about the part-time, though, is that part-time should be proportional to full-time. So if somebody works half or three-quarters, they get half or three-quarters of a full-time job. It also opens up more a possibility for seasonal employment, so that without the tax benefit, without the tax issues and the benefits packages, people could work seasonally. One of the big problems we have is disparity between income, and the robot is making money, but it's going to a small percentage of the people who own the robots rather than the workers that were displaced. So we need to come up with an idea of how to reduce this disparity. What I suggest is we look at this disparity and use a increased tax and have a high marginal tax bracket for the executive compensation above a certain multiple. I think in order to get any effective changes made, we have to make it beneficial for the decision makers to raise that lowest multiple wage. So, but also to give the companies a benefit for this, I suggest we drop the minimum wage for teenagers, keep the maximum hours a week they could work, but this would allow companies like grocery stores to employ teenagers to get them started into the world of work, and get some training on the job where they're not worth as much to an employer. One of the big problems we have is stock options. And if you look at this chart, it's adjusted for, it's inflation adjusted to year $2,000. And so from the mid-1930s up until beginning of 1990, executive CEOs made about $1 million. And then all of a sudden in the 1990s, people started getting stock options. This was another one of those good ideas that backfired. We proposed to let CEOs benefit from their increase in stock value in a company. So this is useful for startups, but for established corporations, what it leads to is stock price manipulation, short-term thinking, and huge payouts for CEOs. So you can see as inflation-adjusted wages, CEO pay jumped up from $1 million to over $9 million. And so this is part of this income disparity. So what I propose is a 75% tax on executive wages that are greater than 100 times the lowest paid adult part-time worker. In other words, let's say somebody is working half-time at Walmart, and you say, okay, if they worked for 40-hour week for 50 weeks, how much would that salary come to? And I'll call that an annualized wage. So we then take that number. So let's say somebody's earning $10 an hour. Walmart's paying more than that, but let's say that's what somebody's getting because it's easy to work with. So $10 an hour, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, that's $10,000. So 100 times that would be $1 million. Or is it 2 million? 10, oh, it's 2 million. Okay, $2 million. So if you're an executive at that company and you're earning more than, or you're being paid more than $2 million, everything over that would be at a 75% tax. So if an executive wanted to keep more of the money that they're being paid above $2 million, they could if they raised what they're paying their lowest workers. So for every dollar they raise of the lowest worker's wage, they could keep 75% of $100. So there's great incentive to raise the lower wage. If you look for more ideas on these topics, you can go to my channel on YouTube, or you can go to my website at pctraining.net/vision.htm.